Hello. So, 2 minutes about post-pandemic theater. Post-pandemic theater for me is a theater that is aware more than ever of its own vulnerabilities and limitations. It is a nude theater. It's a crack in the medium. It's an half-empty hole, a hacked system. And like every crisis, the pandemic demands from us artists more. Not only as an artistic challenge of how, but as a challenge of articulating the crisis as a real chance and as a new reality. The economist and intellectual Milton Friedman said, open citat, only a crisis produces real change. When the crisis occurs, the actions that are taken depend on the ideas that are lying around. That, I believe, is our basic function, to develop alternatives to existing policies and to keep them alive and available until the politically impossible becomes the politically inevitable. Close citat. And indeed, the pandemic forces us to think again about the art of encounter in the 21st century, forces us to think about the toothless smile of the Zuschauerraum as we have all seen it, and demands from us to write, to direct, to think in a more visionary way. How to lean on the knowledge of the past, respond to the present times, and yet reconfigure the future. Post-pandemic theater, for me, deals with the tight relations between dictated regulations and people's solidarity, between restrictions and responsibility, between governmental measures and social engagement. The pandemic could have or could still become a lesson in solidarity. The theater, I think, has an important role in it. Did we manage to reflect the systems in which we are all operating and from which many of us are profiting that pre-existed the pandemic? Did we hold a critical and self-critical encounter with our viewers regarding it? Did we manage to hold our own need of growth, Wachstum, Anstieg and Entwicklung and reflect on new forms? What did we do with the realization that there was no crisis here but a set of conditions that were here way before the pandemic's outbreak and will stay long after it's gone? Post-pandemic theater will ask, were we able as society to conduct a complex discussion with the governments that managed the crisis, or did we rather play the same cat-mouse game of government, people, parents, child? What do we learn about the tension between regulations and responsibility, between penalties and care? Post-pandemic theater is for me a theater that insists on the simplicity and cruelty of the question of presence, absence, representation. Who is not there on stage right now? Who do I never get to hear? Why? Who is always sitting in the audience? Who never sits in this audience? Why? How do we change it? Theater is a place where we practice listening, audience and artists. Post-pandemic theater, for me, practices the art of listening to what is absent too. In every show, in every event, in every conference, in every poster, who is not here? Who is here and never receives the mic? Who is here and never picks up the mic? And who is here holding the mic the whole time and never letting it go? Post-pandemic theater is theater that reflects itself and its conditions. Nevertheless, it never forgets that art is there to speak about the world and not about art and not about artists, at least not only about art and artists. Post-pandemic theater is an incubator of new ideas. In its best form, It is an utopia whose role is to offer a better model for a feminist, anti-racist institution that realizes that in times of crisis there is a need with clear ideas and with new models, and this is the time to sharpen these ideas like knives. Ennis Machi wrote, open Zitat, wenn alles gut geht, ist das Theater ein Ort, an dem die Waffen nicht freiwillig abgelegt werden, sondern an dem sie geschärft und gestellt und modifiziert werden. Close Zitat. And in order to have the right set of ideas prepared, in order to have the fitting set of knives, we must make sure that we ask every time we enter a theater hall, who speaks today? About what? Where? And why now? We must make sure that we are prepared with ideas and alternatives, real ideas and real alternatives that will make what now seem as politically or artistically impossible to the politically and artistically inevitable. Thank you very much.